This film is all about you. We thought you'd like to know exactly where you came from and how it all happened. But we know, because we have children of our own, that it's not easy to tell the truth without getting embarrassed. First you turn pink, then you turn red, and you cough and you splutter, and you mumble and you mutter, and you find the whole thing too difficult for words. And that's why there are so many different stories about where we all came from. Just listen to these. I was brought special delivery by the stork, and he even knew where I lived. My dad was in the bar one night, and he found me swimming in his beer. I was a Christmas present from the fairies. I was hiding in Papa's best Sunday hat. I came out of the TV during a station break. Mom found me one day in a hamburger. I was born in a cabbage at the bottom of the garden. I was on special offer at the supermarket. Mom got me instead of lunch when she was in hospital. The cat brought me in when it was raining. Of course, you know really that none of those stories is true. The truth is much more interesting. So let's start at the very beginning. The first thing to know is that babies are made by grown-ups. One of them has to be a woman, and the other, a man. So the two people who made you were your mother and your father. Now, if you were to put your mother and your father in the bath together, you'd notice something very, very interesting. They're not made at all the same way. You might have noticed that already, but you notice much more when they're in the bath. First of all, they're different sizes. They're different shapes. And they have different parts to their bodies. This is important because it's those different parts that help your mother and your father to make you. In fact, it's so important that we'll have a close look at everything so you can see what's what. Don't worry if they don't look too much like your mother and father. The important parts are the same on all of us, even you. If we start at the top, you can see that the man has a flat chest. But the woman has two round bumps on her chest. You will have heard all sorts of names for these, but the proper name is breasts. And that's the name you should try to remember. When you were just born, your mother's breasts were rather like a mobile milk bar. For the first few months of your life, the only food you could eat was milk. You know why? Because at that time, you didn't have any teeth. So you couldn't eat hot dogs, or hamburgers, or French fries, or cookies, or anything chewy. You had to drink your food. And the milk that kept you alive for those first few months either came from a bottle or from your mother's breasts. Now when you take a look further down, you'll see that just below the middle, the woman spreads out. Those are hips. The reason they're wider on the woman than on the man is to make enough room for a baby. But that comes later. When you look even further down between the legs, you'll see that both the man and the woman have patches of furry hair. You'll have some too one day when you get older. But the important thing to notice is how different the man and the woman are. Between the man's legs is something that all you boys have. Yours won't be as big as this yet, but it will grow bigger as you grow bigger. Just like breasts, this part of the body has a lot of different names. You probably have a special name for yours. But the right name for it is the penis, just like peanuts, without the T. Between the woman's legs, you can just see a little opening, and this is called the vagina. All right? If you can remember those two names, the penis and the vagina, we can start on the important business of making a baby. Let's say the man and the woman are lying in bed together. This part often happens in bed because a bed is so cozy and comfortable. And when two people love each other, it's one of the nicest places to be. When people love each other, they kiss each other and they hug each other very tight. And that's what the man and the woman do. And after a while, the man's penis becomes stiff and hard, and much bigger than it usually is. It gets bigger because it has a lot of work to do. By this time, all the hugging and kissing have made the man and the woman feel very loving towards each other. They want to be as close as they can be. And that's when the man puts his penis inside the woman, into her vagina, because that's the closest two people can get. This is a very nice feeling for both the man and the woman. He likes being inside her, and she likes having him inside her. It's called making love, because it starts with the man and the woman loving each other. It's a difficult feeling to describe, but if you can imagine a gentle tingling sort of tickle that starts in your stomach and spreads all over, that will give you an idea of how it feels. And as you know, when you're feeling tickly, you wriggle about a bit. It's just the same here, except it's a special kind of wriggling. It's easier to understand when you realize that the parts which tickle most are the man's penis and the woman's vagina. So it's not surprising that most of the wriggling happens down there. It often starts slowly, but gets quicker and quicker as the tickly feeling gets stronger and stronger. The man pushes his penis up and down inside the woman's vagina so that both the tickly parts are being rubbed against each other, like scratching an itch, only a lot nicer. But if it's so nice, why don't people do it all the time? First, because it's very tiring, more than running, or skipping, or climbing trees, or playing football, or almost anything. Good as it is, you just can't do it all day long. The other reason is that something really wonderful happens, which puts an end to the tickly feeling, and at the same time starts the making of a baby. When the man and the woman have been wriggling so hard you think they're both going to pop, they very nearly do just that. All the rubbing up and down that's been going on ends in a lovely explosion, like a tremendous big shiver for both of them. You know how it is when you have a tickle in your nose for a long time, and then you have a really big sneeze? It's a little like that. At the same time as this tremendous big shiver, a spurt of quite thick, sticky stuff comes from the end of the man's penis, and this goes way up inside the woman's vagina. Well, strange as it sounds, this sticky stuff is how you and I and all of us started our lives. It's called semen, and in the semen are sperm. Each large drop of sperm is made up of hundreds of thousands of smaller drops of sperm. If you had a microscope, you could see them. And what they get up to is quite amazing. the sperm make their way up the woman's vagina, like tiny tadpoles swimming up a stream. What they're hoping to find is one of the eggs that the woman produces inside her every month. Sometimes they're unlucky. But if one single sperm meets one single egg, they have a romance of their own. This is called fertilization, and the result of it is the beginning of a baby. If two sperm meet two eggs, the result is twins. 3 sperm and 3 eggs, triplets, and so on. When the sperm and the egg get together, they make a tiny person. So tiny that not even the mother knows it's there for the first few weeks. But slowly, that tiny speck will grow and grow until it becomes a grown-up baby, ready to come into the world. That's a lot of growing, and it takes 9 months. So the unborn baby is going to need somewhere to live. Where it lives is a special place inside the mother called the womb, which is a great place to be for the first 9 months of your life. It's safe, it's warm, and there's plenty to eat, because the baby's food comes from the food the mother eats. That's all part of womb service. And what does our baby, let's say she's a girl, what does she do all day? We're going to take a look inside the womb and find out. She spends her first month growing from a dot you can hardly see into a little girl no bigger than one of your teeth. But as small as she is, she already has a backbone and the first beginnings of arms, legs, nose, and the eyes. She even has a heart that's beating. By the time the second month is passed, our baby not only has arms and legs, she has fingers, toes, elbows, and knees, and a definite little face. During the third month, the baby starts to develop something which she's going to need once she leaves the womb and has to start yelling for her dinner. This is the month her vocal cords begin to form. Now, in the fourth month, we're getting nearly halfway there. Our baby is about as big as your mom's hand, and she's getting quite frisky. By the end of this month, it's usually possible for the mother to feel her moving about. The fifth month is a big moment for bald-headed babies, because this is usually the month when a thin covering of hair appears on the head. Nails grow on the fingers and toes. And a doctor with one of those special hearing things can actually hear the baby's heart beating. Although she can't see much in the womb because it's so dark, her eyelids will open sometime during the 6th month. And at the same time, she'll start getting eyebrows and eyelashes. 7th month. And if you thought she was big before, by now she's a whopper. About as long as your arm, but all curled up, and weighing about 3 pounds. Now that her body's growing so well, the brain is beginning to grow too. And you see that she's turning around so she comes into the world head first. During the last 2 months, there's so much activity, you can feel it yourself. The baby is getting bigger and stronger and more lively. And if you put your hand on the mother's stomach, it sometimes feels like there's a football game going on. The kicking is for exercise. And it's a sign that the baby is getting ready to come out and see what the world looks like. Now we come to the day that all of us have been through and none of us remembers. Our real birth day. There lies the baby, all curled up inside her mother. But how is she going to get out? The simple answer is, she's pushed out. Now that the 9 months are up, the baby's ready to be born. So nature starts things moving in the right direction. And that's in the direction of the hospital. The first sign the mother has that things are starting to happen is a special kind of stomach ache. Or rather, a series of stomach aches, coming at regular intervals. At first, these aches, which are called labor pains, come a long way apart. But gradually, they get closer and closer together, which means the baby is really ready to come out. And that's the time when the doctor and the nurses gather round to help the mother, because this last part for her is the hardest. What she has to do is push the baby out through the opening between her legs. And what she uses to do the pushing are all the muscles in her stomach. Now, when you think how big the baby is and how small the opening is, you can imagine what hard work it is for the mother. That's why this part of the birth is called being in labor. It can take a long time, and it's very, very tiring. But at last, out she comes, looking cross, red in the face, and yelling like a fire engine. After all, it's quite a shock coming out into the cold after 9 months of being warm and snug.
Oh.
Just one last thing has to be done before everybody can relax. For the whole 9 months of their unborn life, all babies have been getting their food through a little tube that leads to their stomach. Once they're born, they start taking food through the mouth. So the tube isn't needed anymore. The doctor snips it off. It doesn't hurt. Ties up the end and makes it all neat. And that's why you've got a belly button, which is all that remains of the tube that once kept you alive. There. Now you know where you came from. You may think it sounds like a lot of time and hard work to produce such a small person. But there's a very good reason why your mother and father went through it all. And if you want to know what that reason is, just take a look in the mirror. It was done for you.